This is Coach Ben, and we're going to talk about why MMA fighters cut so much weight. Why do MMA fighters cut so much weight? This is not something that is just MMA. You know, wrestlers cut a lot of weight. Sometimes boxers cut weight too. But generally, MMA fighters cut so much weight for these three reasons. First reason, appeal to tradition, right? So appeal to tradition basically just is, it's like, you know, my coach did it, his coach did it, the fighters that came before me did it, so I'm going to do it. Everyone does it, right? There's no rhyme or reason to it, but since everybody's doing it, it's just become the norm. And that's appeal to tradition. That's what a lot of fighters have in their mind when they're cutting weight and why they cut weight. And, you know, that's one of the reasons. Another reason would be, and this is a more, I guess, this has more reason behind it, is the competitive advantage of cutting weight, right? So when you cut weight, you have a competitive advantage, meaning you have a larger body mass than your opponent. And this is the most important distinction here when it comes to a competitive advantage. Usually you want to be at a higher body weight when you are grappling, clinching, doing fence work, when there's some kind of way for me to impose my body weight onto somebody. That is where I will get the biggest advantage. Okay, so you'll notice just from looking at research and looking at just generally how things are, boxers and strikers will cut less weight than grapplers, wrestlers, and MMA fighters. Okay, MMA has obviously everything. It's got striking, grappling, jiu-jitsu, stand-up, clinch, fence, and so there is a lot of things in MMA in where I will be putting my weight on my opponent. So in MMA, one of the reasons that they cut so much weight is because of that advantage, right? The ability to impose their weight on their opponent, all right? And this is why also you'll see in wrestling that the bigger man usually is going to win, assuming the skills are the same. In boxing, it's a little different because there are things such as speed and, you know, cardio. It means a lot more in just a pure striking art. So in striking, you'll see a little bit less of this weight cutting, right? But for MMA, generally they do it for the competitive advantage. That's the second thing that we're going to talk about. The third is this is also very common, and this is also a good reason to cut weight. Is a fighter is in between weight classes, or they're specifically undersized for the higher one, right? So if I have a fighter who's like, you know, he's like 5'9", right? But they could fight like 205, right? So light heavyweight, right? I would say that if they could go to the lower weight class, they should, because at 205, you don't see too many fighters that are 5'9", right? Even at 185, you don't see that many fighters that are 5'9". So this is the case where when you're undersized for a higher weight class, you generally want to go to the lower weight class where you will be more situated to kind of, you know, have a better outcome, right? You don't see fighters that are super short that are you know, in the heavier weight classes, right? That's just how things are. Okay, so why do fighters cut so much weight? Appeal to tradition, competitive advantage, and then they're undersized for the higher weight class.